So sometimes playing guitar can be like eating vegetables. Something you don't like as a kid suddenly becomes really appealing as you get older. Do you know what I mean, Tomcat? But what does that have to do with Jimi Hendrix? Hello and welcome to another episode of the Guitar Workshop with Ulrich and Mr. Tomcat. We are so glad to have Tomcat back. He was on a cat vacation last week. You know, even cats have to take time off sometimes, but it's good to have you back, Tomcat. And also, we did a workshop about Jimi Hendrix last weekend, just recently. And it was really an interesting, intense moment for me because, like I kind of pointed towards in the intro, I didn't like Jimi Hendrix as a teenager. So at the workshop on Saturday, I took Jimi's first hit single, Hey Joe, and I took it apart. I took it apart in 8 different levels of difficulty. So this lesson is perfect for those of you who always wanted to understand Jimi Hendrix's chordal style, but never really got the grasp of it. And if you stick around until the very end, we're gonna get a little reward because Mr. Tomcat here is gonna tell you his word of the day. And this word of the day is said to have some magic powers. So if you stick around, then you will be blessed. So if you stick around, you will hear a word of wisdom from this smart cat over here. And he really appreciates it too if you can leave him a comment and tell him how you liked his word of the day. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get started. All right. So, Hey Joe. That was Jimi's first hit single in the year 1967. I think it came out in January, and he and the Experience skyrocketed the English charts, and I think the single ended up at number 8 of the charts. So it was quite a popular song around the time. But what was happening in this song musically? One reason I didn't like it as a kid was that it was just kept repeating the same chord sequence over and over. So the whole form is just one chord progression that keeps on building. So what are those chords? Let's go over them together. The whole song is in E major, but starts in C major. So here are the chords: C, G, D, and A. So if you as a beginner know those basic chords, then you can basically play this song. And you just use a simple strumming pattern, something like this. Absolute beginner's version, and it also sounds a little bit like a beginner, I would say. But what we're gonna do here in this lesson is, that even when you're just a beginner or starting to be intermediate, then I'm gonna show you today how you can Hendrixify this chord progression. But before we Hendrixify the Hey Joe chord progression, let's take a look at the intro, because we all want to be able to play this awesome intro. It goes something like this. So what's going on here? So it starts out with this E minor lick. Using the open string. Followed by an arpeggiation of the E major chord. You get that, Tomcat? Pay attention, okay? So, you know, he's immediately putting the E minor against the E major, and that gives a special effect. Then here we have an octave on the D, walking down D, C sharp, B in octaves in this kind of rhythm. If you have any difficulties with this, I would recommend to isolate just that bar and practice it on its own in a loop. And then you put the whole thing together. See, I like to play that chord short. That way it appears really well phrased and tight, and I like that. Yeah, so that's basically the whole intro. So it's all in E. And then we immediately go to that C chord, and that's now where it gets interesting, because now we're gonna Hendrixify this chord progression. So here is where it gets interesting, because Hendrix wasn't only a blues rock player, he was heavily influenced by the soul and funk players of his time. And he was even living in the Nashville area, so he had a little bit of country flavor in his playing as well. Country, soul, you know, it pretty much was all the same, especially all the bands that toured in the Chitlin circuit in the southern United States, you know, around 62, 63. Well, Jimi played as a sideman of all those bands in that time. And so he must have picked up a lot of those licks and flavors. So what he was doing here was like, you know, this kind of soulful ornamentation where you just hammer on that note. So we're gonna do that too. What Jimi loved to do was use his thumb to fret bass notes. So here on the G, he fretted it like this, which left him the option to use his pinky to hit the 9 interval. You don't have to know that, but it's an A note. So and I don't know if you know this, but this chord also has a very open quality, because there is no third in it, just as a side note. So those are the first two chords. Then we hit the D, but this time we're not gonna play it in this basic root position, but we're gonna play it here on the 5th fret. And that also allows us to play a little ornament. We're gonna play another one of Jimi's soul licks here. And then we move immediately to the A major. So what is this soul lick here? Well, it's basically just a little major ornamentation or arpeggiation, but the interesting thing here is that we hit 2 notes at the same time. So if you want to practice that some more, then I recommend to just take the D major and the A major and just play those two chords in a row. But you can even play each of the chords twice as long, so you have a little more room to experiment. I'm gonna show you what I mean. And I'm gonna put on a metronome, so just we have a good reference. So, twice as long. Oh, Tomcat is smiling. I think he likes that. So what was I doing here? Well, you noticed that I was also playing that same soul lick on the A chord. And that is actually gonna lead us to our next topic. So here, on this next topic, we're gonna start to connect the chords in Jimi's fashion. And now we're getting closer to his signature chordal approach. Because we really only need one simple soul lick that we can play on each chord, and we'll be able to play this chord progression all over the fretboard. If you don't believe me, I'm gonna show you how. Are you ready, Tomcat? And this exercise will also be great for us to really unlock our fretboard view and see how it all connects. Let's go back to the C chord. So if we look at our C chord here, and we look at that lick that I just had, right? Let's take that lick. I'm gonna take that one. So, where else can I play that on the fretboard? Or I can play it here. Or here. So there's all these different places, and you want to make sure that you know all the spots where you can play that lick. So, what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna play the same thing on the G chord. So what about the D chord? Same thing. A. Do you see how it works? All right. Suddenly it starts sounding like music, isn't it, Tomcat? So we just take one soul lick, and by the way, this is just one variation. I could just turn the same lick around and play it like just as common. If that's easier for you, you might even want to start out with that one. Flows a little bit better. So try both those variations and play them all over the fretboard. You know, you can also play the C. You could play this as well, or if you know that you can play the G chord here on the 10th fret, you don't have to go all the way down here again. You see this powerful method to unlock the fretboard? Now all I did was play one simple lick. And of course we haven't really hit the E yet. So on the E, I even have more time, so I can play more of those soul licks and connect those different positions. Let's just see how we can connect those. So if I'm starting here, so that's pretty much all my E major soul lick connections that I have available. So I can use all of those when I hit those 2 bars of E. So one more time, let's play the whole thing and maybe in context with the playback. So do you see how suddenly everything starts to flow in a whole different way? Remember, I could just play those chords like this. This is how the average intermediate guitar player would play a chord progression like that, you know? But now suddenly with Hendrix's style, I sound completely different. Don't you think, Tomcat? Isn't it amazing what one simple soul lick can do to transform this whole thing into an orchestral melodic masterpiece? So I want to encourage you to try this technique with your own chord progressions. You know, progressions that you come up with or of some other popular songs. And you'll find out you're not the first one to do this. There is a lot of artists that use this Hendrix signature technique to spice up their own chord progressions. Just a few examples: the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Lenny Kravitz, John Mayer. I mean, the list is long. Those are just a few examples. And most people don't even realize that this is inspired by Jimi Hendrix. So I want to summarize real quick. In today's lesson, I gave you a very basic introduction to Hendrix's chordal style. You know, outlining the basic chords first. We were talking here about Hey Joe, and then throwing in those little soul licks to connect the chords, and first finding the right spots on the fretboard where we can play those different variations of this pretty much the same lick. And then once we get comfortable with it and we connect it, it really starts flowing together and becomes this beautiful way, this beautiful Hendrix signature. I hope you enjoyed this lesson today. Me and Tomcat, always happy to see you. And to reward you guys for sticking around until the end, we are now gonna hear Tomcat's word of the day. Okay, Tomcat, what is your wisdom word of the day?
A true artist steals. A copycat copies.
All right, my friends. I hope you make sense out of these mumbling words of wisdom from my friend Tomcat. If you are interested to learn more of Hendrix's techniques, then you can now check out my workshop. The link is down here below, and it's a completely free workshop, and it will also give you the option at the end to go deeper with me, because I want to help people that want to discover their own musicality and play as fluent and as expressive as Jimi Hendrix, just like in my workshop, level number 8, play with complete freedom. Now those are my closing words, and yeah, please subscribe to this channel and like the video and leave a comment for Tomcat here. And I will see you guys next week again. Oh, excuse me. We will see you next week again. Cheers.